The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome back to the Personal Safety Show. I am Marcus Melnick of Firearm Mentor, your host. And I hope that you've enjoyed the last several episodes where we talked about how the police explorers of yesterday have turned into the leaders of today. While we were able to interview a smattering of people, not everybody we contacted was able to be interviewed. So I want to tell you about these people. Other departments that have hired explorers from the Skokie Police Department are the Skokie Police Department. There are 2 officers and 1 sergeant who are explorers there. The sergeant and one of the officers are the advisor for the post, which is great because they have had experience. Des Plaines Police Department has 1 officer, and she is in charge of the Explorer program. There also was an elected official. I can't remember if she was a state senator or representative. However, we did not invite her on the show because she would not be a friend to the Second Amendment. She sponsored a ton of bills and voted positively for a ton of anti-gun bills. So we opted not to have her. The Northfield Police Department's deputy chief was a police explorer with me, and there is a sergeant on the Evanston Police Department. He was also a police explorer with me and is one of the people that runs the Evanston Police Department's Explorer program. There's also someone who decided not to go into law enforcement. She is a pastry chef. She works in the hospitality industry, and she also is a personal shopper. I've used her during the pandemic. I was just like the rest of the country, not knowing what to believe, scared. Yes, Big Tough Marcus was scared. So we contracted with her, and she did our grocery shopping for several months until the fear kind of subsided. We used her. If you need her contact information, if you need a personal grocery shopper, she still does it. She still has some elderly customers, clients who she helps out. And if you think about it, this is truly a good deed, a mitzvah, service to others. And that's what the Explorer program has taught us. If you need her contact information, please reach out to me at firearmmentorcard.com. Lastly, there were 2 brothers involved. The older one worked his way up in the Chicago Police Department and ultimately became deputy superintendent. He was one of the people who plans for rioting and plans for all these things that happen, and he's retired since then. What a great feather in the cap of the Skokie Police Department's Explorer program. He's had several prominent positions, including being in charge of the Marine unit, and the Marine unit is considered an elite, an echelon unit. So the fact that he got onto the Marine unit and then led the Marine unit was absolutely fantastic. His younger brother also worked his way up in the Chicago Police Department and is currently the commander for the Division of O'Hare Airport. As you can see, you can go back on previous episodes and you can listen to all sorts of other things that other people have done with the Explorer program, including those who have become CEOs, physicians, other people in law enforcement. If you are interested in learning more about the Explorer program, once again, you can contact me. I will put you in contact with the correct people, or you can go to the local Boy Scout website called pathwaytoadventure.com. You'll be looking for the Explorer program, and I can put you in contact with either Jeff Isaac, the executive director, or Kristen Vogt, who's in charge of the Explorer program. They were the first interviews published for this segment. We're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about some things that anti-gunners say. One of the things that anti-gunners say is that guns are the highest cause of death in children. And that's their platform that they stand on. Guess what? That's a lie. Firearms are not responsible for most of the deaths of children. I went on the CDC website and I encourage you to verify everything that I say. If I have an opinion, I will give you an opinion and I'll tell you that it's an opinion. This is fact. Unintentional injury is the highest cause of accidents. Gun deaths, and I don't look at it as gun deaths because it's an inanimate object, but people who were injured by firearms is the number 2 cause of death among teens 15 to 24. the number 3 cause of death among children ages 1 and 4, and the number 4 cause of death, the ages 5 to 14. And actually, we're talking about homicide. We're not talking about self-inflicted gunshot wounds. We're not talking about accidents. We're talking about homicides here. So next time you hear, oh, well, the leading cause of death among children is guns, that is not factual. That is emotion. And if you go back to a previous episode, I interviewed a young man named Tyler who quoted, facts don't care about your feelings. Additional information sounds like a lot of randomness, but it all kind of comes together at the end. As you may remember, I am one of the executives for an organization called the Illinois Gun Owners Together. It is not an official legal organization. It is a Facebook group, and it will probably always remain a Facebook. At one time, we had about 10,000 members, and then the group got zucked. You may have heard me talk about it before, and we've rebuilt several times. We're at about 2,500 people have rejoined. Several times a year, there are activities with this group. The next activity we're going to be having is called the I Got Shoot at the Pit. It will be Saturday, August 26th, beginning at 10 a.m. at Buffalo Range Shooting Park, 1254 North 2803 Road in Ottawa, Illinois. If you would like additional information or a flyer, or you want to invite your friends to it, it is open to everyone. The cost is $30. That is not any more or less than their range fees, and there's going to be a discount for children and veterans. This is going to be a fundraiser for the lawsuits. There's a portion is going to be donated. There's going to be I Got Illinois Gun Owners Together t-shirts available to help raise money. I have one. They're pretty cool. There's a couple different iterations of them. Bring your guns, bring your ammo, buy some at the range. Family and friends are welcome, and they will have full auto firearms for everybody to shoot. I've done that before. It's a blast, forgive the dad joke. In addition to being a blast, I don't know if they'll have it this year, but in one of the previous iterations, somebody was a Civil War reenactor, and they brought a bona fide actual Civil War cannon that you could pay to fire. If I can find it on the YouTube posting that this radio show will ultimately become, I'll see if I can post a picture or two, but just an absolute blast. And I don't think we're going to do this anymore, but previous to the pandemic, when ammo prices were reasonable, we had the Mad Minute. And that's when it was at about 1 o'clock. Everybody would load up their magazines, load up their firearms prior to it. And for 1 minute, everyone just shot into this big rock quarry type pit. Although it wasn't rocks, it's dirt, so the bullets don't ricochet, for a minute. And we have drone footage of it. It is just really loud and obnoxious, and the only one word I can use to describe it is Murica. Not America, Murica. It's a lot of fun. We're a great group of people. We're always willing to help others. You know, I'm an instructor. I already have been contacted by one of the members saying, would this be a good day to bring my son out? I'm ready to have him learn how to shoot. And I said, not only is it a good day, I'm happy to work with him. So I already have an appointment. I'm going to be helping this one gentleman's son learn how to shoot. I'll bring some appropriate firearms, meaning 22s, so that he can learn how to shoot. This is a great event, and you can walk up and down the line and see guns maybe you've never seen before, or you've always wanted to see, or you've wanted to shoot. And people are very kind and generous. Oh, an M1 Garand. That's a World War II era clip-fed gun. You might see it in Call of Duty. You might see it in Saving Private Ryan and similar movies like that. And if you've never shot one, chances are somebody's going to have. When I went last year, a friend of mine had a double-barrel shotgun. And I just wanted to go over and shoot the breeze with him. And he was doing skeet shooting. So he's like, hey, you want to give it a try? And I'm like, yes, I want to give it a try. I was able to hit one of 2 clays, 50%, not the best for self-defense, but a lot of fun. This is an event. If you'd like an invitation or you'd like a copy of the flyer, please reach out to me at firearmmentorcard.com. All right, we're going to be a lot of gear shifts today because I have a lot of seemingly random information to share with you. There was an axe throwing place in Wakanda that also had a FATS simulator. FATS, F-A-T-S, stands for Firearm Training Simulator. And it's basically a movie, it's computer run, and you have a plethora of handguns, pepper spray, shotguns, rifles, and a scene unfolds as if it is in a movie and you react to the movie. It shows you exactly where your shots land. It has a carbon dioxide hose that goes into a tank. So when you actually fire the gun, it shoots out a light or a laser so that the screen can record where you're shooting. And it also, the carbon dioxide goes back into the gun and produces recoil. I don't know the science behind it, sorry, but it actually is really, really cool. I've done it before. If you go back 2 episodes, my friend Mitch Dicker was at the FBI Academy in the early 1990s. I think it was 92. The FBI had it. That was brand new technology then. The owner of this axe throwing place had to close the place, and he is actively attempting to sell his FATS equipment, computer program, machine, all sorts of goodies with it, all sorts of, they're not working firearms, but they're firearms that work with that system. If you are interested or know somebody who's interested in purchasing these, and it's not an inexpensive purchase, it would be for a business or someone really, really into firearms with a lot of spare money, let me know, firearmmentorcard.com, and I will facilitate an introduction. I do that often. I do that with my clients. A lot of times they have firearms that they want to sell. I'm not selling firearms on the radio. This is not a FAT system is not a firearm. But if you're interested in learning what's out there, you can also send me a message via that website, and I can tell you what I'm aware of that's for sale on the used market, and again, facilitate an introduction. I don't get anything out of this. All I get is a feel good. And I service my clients this way because sometimes I'll buy a gun and not really like it. Or somebody will tell them, like a police officer, you must get a Glock, you must get a SIG, you must get a Smith & Wesson, or whatever the preferred brand of that person is. I will never tell you, you must get a Glock, you must get a XYZ. I will go with my clients who've taken a concealed carry class with me or a couple lessons. I'll go and shop with them, but I'll never tell them you must have an XYZ brand. I will say, try out these 4 or 5 or 6 different guns based upon your needs, and then you can make that decision and pare it down. Some people like how a Glock feels in their hand. Some people don't. Some people prefer the palm swells of a Walther PDP or an HK-VP9 or an HK-P30. Which is perfectly fine. I will definitely work within someone's budget. If they only have a little bit of money, they don't have a lot of money, we may look at used guns, but I provide that as a service to people who have taken my class. It is part of what you pay for. All right, moving on. We can buy guns on the internet. We can buy guns from other people. And now, since we have to go to a gun store to have it transferred from a person-to-person sale as of July 1st, there is a gun store in Mundelein called RMG Guns, and until Labor Day, they are charging $5 per transfer. Now, you're going to be charged $5 if you order something off the internet and it gets shipped there. A person-to-person sale, maybe $5 a person. I have not asked, I'm not sure, but seriously, it is a good deal. All right, let's talk about some new laws that were signed into law by Governor Pritzker. House Bill 2245 requires the County of Cook to establish a vehicle theft hotline to facilitate location of stolen vehicles. I imagine this hotline will be for someone to call in and say, hey, there's a car on blocks, or hey, I think this person stole a car. This is the car. This is where it is. Not a bad law. Next, House Bill 2431 prevents people from having video conferencing while driving. What? Who does video conferencing while driving? Well, if I'm on the way to a meeting, I'm doing audio. I'm not doing video. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm dialing into the number. So we will no longer be able to do video conferencing. I really think this is a dumb law because distracted driving already covers video conferencing. So once again, we have our wonderful elected officials doing a feel-good law that is unnecessary. Look at me, I made a new law. I'm doing my job when it was not necessary. Very wasteful of time. House Bill 2493 says that all employees in the state of Illinois are able to use 2 weeks of unpaid PTO or paid time off if a family member was killed in a crime of violence. That is a fantastic bill. It allows people to grieve. It allows people to make funeral arrangements, which is always difficult, even more so difficult when someone is killed with violence. And House Bill 3751 is a very interesting bill. Governor Pritzker is now allowing non-citizens to become police officers. So if somebody is here in the United States on a green card, or they are a member of the DACA, D-A-C-A community, they can now apply to be police officers. And in some conservative circles, this is a bad thing, because how can a non-citizen arrest a citizen for doing a crime? That's a problem. Except the key words there is doing a crime. I don't care if the arresting officer is a citizen or a non-citizen. If the bad guy's doing bad stuff, get him off the street. It's easy. Well, I don't know why this is an issue. Now, people can write in and you can tell me, Marcus, you're full of baloney. It is an issue. How dare you? Blah, blah, blah. But when somebody is committing a crime, who is checking the immigration status of the arresting officer? It's kind of ridiculous. Who cares? If they're a good person and they've passed all of the other tests, the written test, the intelligence test, the polygraph, the psychological test, there's a ton of testing and background checks that go into hiring an officer on a police department. I don't see this as an issue as far as non-citizens go. The DACA thing, I can almost understand that. I had a little bit of a debate with someone in the gun community, and he put out there, and I don't think this was exactly politically correct. That's the nicest way I can put this. But he said that people who are here on DACA have committed a felony to cross into the United States illegally. Thus, they are more prone to violate someone's rights. They are more prone to commit additional felonies. And I said, hooey, baloney. If I'm a gun owner and I drive fast enough to warrant a felony, does that make me violent? No. If somebody commits a felony for, say, tax evasion, does that mean they're going to be violent? No. So it's a little bit ridiculous to say that a nonviolent felony will result in violence. I called them out on that. I'm not going to change anyone's mind. And that's the whole thing in the firearms community. Nobody's going to change anyone's mind. I said this at a networking meeting a couple days ago. I joined a Chamber of Commerce, and we were talking about, oh, what do you do? And I said, look, here's the deal. I am an educator. I have a radio show. I'm an author. I give seminars. I give concealed carry training. That's my role. I am not an activist. I do write letters to my elected officials, but my current elected officials are not receptive to pro-gun ideas or even pro-security ideas or pro-safety ideas. At least that's the feeling that I get. In any event, what I said at this meeting was that, look, I'm not going to change anyone's mind. There are people out there who are pro-gun. There are people out there who are anti-gun. They're pretty much set in their ways. I'm going to focus on the people who are unsure of or the people who are pro-gun to recruit them for my business, to recruit them for camaraderie, to go shooting with them, that type of thing. Even people who are curious, I'm happy to interact with them. The rabidly anti-gun people, I'm not going to have an impact on. I'm really not. Even though I wrote a book called The Opposite of Safe, which has very little to do with guns, but more has to do with our personal reactions to seeing life and death situations. And it doesn't even have to be a gun situation or a shooting situation. It could be a car accident. It could be a fire. We're all going to react to life and death situations a little bit differently. But what happens across the human race is that we all react the same way as far as what chemicals, what hormones are released into our bloodstream and how it affects us physiologically and psychologically. So if you're interested in that book or reading about it, you can get a copy at theoppositeofsafe.com, where I also have a book on how to shoot a handgun. A very close friend of mine, actually, I interviewed him on the show a couple shows ago, Matt, or Chaim, if you remember that name. I took him shooting back 30-some plus years ago, and he hasn't been shooting since then. I recently took him and his lovely wife shooting. We had a great time, and he was curious. His wife is encouraging him to go look for a firearm, and I'm going to go shopping with him. He's a great guy. He's a good guy, not a bad guy, and you can hear about his life story if you go back a couple episodes. Let's talk about some lawsuits. The lawsuits that have been currently filed are in a waiting pattern or a holding pattern or in the penalty box or whatever you want to call it. There is no rulings on them. There is a lot of conjecture on both sides. You've got Governor Pritzker thinking this ban should be nationwide, and he'd love to have it nationwide. And there's a little bit of scuttlebutt that he may be running for president in the future. So keep that in mind if you don't want your rights curtailed. And there are those who are on the pro-gun side who say, no, this is unconstitutional. How dare you? And they've filed lawsuits. It's up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen? You can hear about all these updates. You go on YouTube and you can hear, for example, Todd Vandermite, but there's really nothing to update. It's hearings, it's filings, but there's no decision. When there's a decision that's made, I am happy to share it with everybody here. So let's talk about the lawsuits. Right now, Law Weapons filed, and they're in Naperville, filed a lawsuit against the city of Naperville before the state ban came into effect. The city of Naperville made it illegal for anyone to sell basically a semi-automatic rifle, and it is a backdoor gun control scheme. Just this one store has paid $500,000 in fees to attorneys and has lost about $1 million of sales because they have to sit on this inventory of semi-automatic rifles and banned products that they purchased before the ban came into being. With that said, this Sunday, right now, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., there is a fundraising event at Law Weapons. They're going to have music, live music. I'm guessing they're going to have refreshments as well. And they're going to be answering questions about their lawsuit, about other lawsuits. They have 75 firearms in stock that have been shipped into Illinois for those on the temporary restraining order. In Tom DeVore's lawsuit, if there was a person who signed up, paid, I think it was $200 to be part of this temporary restraining order, they can buy whatever they want under the old set of laws. So what they did was they said, oh, cool, we're going to buy off the internet. We're going to have them sent to Law Weapons. Now Law Weapons has all these guns, but the local ordinance there prevents them from selling the guns or transferring the guns into the people who have purchased them. So there's additional expense to this business who's trying to do the right thing, who's being legal, yet they are losing money. That is a clever scheme for anti-gunners to eliminate gun sales. There is a potentially new lawsuit that's coming out. Hasn't come out yet. There's a scuttlebutt about it, and that is based on the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, and if you go back to our shows around July 4th, I went through the amendments. The Fifth Amendment is the right against self-incrimination. You do not have to say, I did the crime if you did the crime. It is in our federal Constitution. With the whole registration scheme, we are going to be having to say to the state of Illinois, yes, I have an AR-15 that I purchased before this law. I have a shotgun with a pistol grip, or whatever the case may be. I have a threaded barrel. And they're going to have to register these items and submit affidavits that say that they own high-capacity feeding devices or standard-capacity magazines. With that said, if another law comes out that says, nope, these things are banned, we're going to be knocking on doors to confiscate them. You've registered your AR-15 a year from now. AR-15s are illegal. Knock on the door, state police, ATF come to confiscate your guns. That's going to be problematic for people who are going to vehemently disagree with law enforcement, and there's going to be conflicts. And trying to get guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens may result in violence. I'm not going to say it's going to result in violence, but it may result in some violence, which is very unfortunate and works against the anti-gunners. I think that they should be going after people that should not have firearms, like criminals. That's fine. But when you immediately have a stroke of the pen and somebody is a criminal for possessing an inanimate object, holy cow, is that a problem? So there is a potential lawsuit out there that's going to say, no, we cannot register our guns because it will incriminate us possibly on future laws. I don't know how successful these lawsuits are going to be because other states have required registration in the past. But if we go back to Nazi Germany, registration occurred, then confiscation occurred, then concentration camps occurred. So I'm not saying that's going to happen in the United States in today's world, but we did have concentration camps in World War II. There are a ton of seminars out there. I was fortunate to go to one through one of my networking groups where this one individual, her parents were in an internment camp, a Japanese internment camp in the United States. They were not bad people. They were not spies. But because they were Japanese, they were put in a concentration camp. Just like in World War II, because someone was Jewish or a gypsy or anti-government, they were put in concentration camps and death camps. There is always that fear that that will happen in the United States. In talking to one of my friends, African-American friend, he said, I've been dealing with racism all my life. That doesn't make it right. That makes it horrible. Racism is actually quite popular in the United States. So is anti-Asianism following the pandemic, when there was conspiracy theories that, oh, wow, well, this was intentionally released by China. Who knows? Who knows if it was intentional? Who knows if you've seen the new Borat movie, if Borat was the one that spread COVID to everyone based upon his home country? Who knows? And we don't know for sure, but there's people that subscribe to these conspiracy theories that, and sometimes they come true or they're revealed to be true. I listen to conspiracy theories all the time because A, I find them interesting, B, they're thought-provoking. I don't necessarily buy into a lot of them, but I do have distrust of the mainstream media. I have distrust of the conservative media because there's agendas on both sides of the aisle. Stay tuned. We've got more information for you the second half of the show. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.